Everyone, today I'm going to be making a wedding card for a friend's wedding today. Her wedding colors are like a sunflower yellow and a pale green. I'm going to be starting with my new stamp set. This is from Lawn Fawn. It's the Happy Wedding set, and if you want to see that Lawn Fawn stamp haul, I'll link that below. I'm also going to be using some yellow cardstock with a chevron print. It's double-sided. It has the polka dots on the other side, but I'm going to go with the chevron for today. And that's from the Snap Color Vibe collection, the Lights, Bolds, and Brights, and it's a 6x6 sheet. I'm also going to be using a pre-done card. So this is just cardstock, textured cards that comes in a value pack from, this is from Michaels, and I can link that craft haul below as well, where I purchased that. You can get these with 40% off coupons. They're a really good value, and they come with the white envelopes. I'm also going to be using a plain sheet of white cardstock. This is just from the bulk cardstock at Michaels, and I'm going to be using my grid for cutting today. I'm going to be using the yellow card as the base, putting the chevron print as a backdrop, and then the white to do all of my stamping. You'll also be seeing me do some coloring with my Tombow dual brush pens and some detail work with my silver ball, roller ball multicolored pens. So the first thing I've done is gone ahead and measured out a 3 3/4 inch by 4 1/2 inch piece on my white cardstock, and I'm going to go ahead and cut that out. So this is the A2 card, so I'm going to go ahead and cut out the chevron print using my cutter. So the reason why I didn't use it for my big sheet is because I have a small cutter and the 12x12 sheet's too big to fit into this. So I want this one at the 5 1/4 mark, and then I'm going to turn it around to the 4. And then there we are at the 4, so just sliding this along, and then I have my perfect cut piece. Now I always save the little extras because they are really good scraps for making your cards. So there's all my paper lined up, and I'm going to get stamping. So I've arranged the stamps where I want them to go on my card, and I'm going to use my Fisker stamp press and just put it over top of the card and press down to pick up those stamps, and I'm going to ink everything up. So everything is on the grid where I'd like it to be, and I'm going to be using my Memento black ink. So I'm going to make sure everything is covered in my black ink. So ready to go, and I'm going to line this up. And that's the great thing about the stamp press, is you can have everything lined up before you press everything down to stamp. Okay, so I'm all lined up. I'm just going to press down with my stamp press. Give it a really good press so all of those details come out on my page. And there we have our stamped image. So as I was piecing it together, I found it was just too much white on the front of the card, and I didn't feel like doing a lot of coloring. So I took one of the scraps of the paper that I had used, and I'm going to use the polka dot side, so the opposite side of the chevron, and I cut out a little border, and then I cut out the congratulations, so that I'm going to piece these two together for the top part of the card. And I cut right at the little bird's feet, and I'm going to fussy cut the cake and little birds out. And if you don't like to fussy cut out your images, you can always get the coordinating die cuts if you have a die cut machine. So I'm just laying everything on there before I go ahead and color, and I like how everything looks. So I'm going to go ahead and use a bunch of yellows. Now I know I'm keeping this card very monochromatic. You can go ahead and do some different effects with your card, but I just wanted to keep it all in the yellows. So I'm just testing out my colors here to see what I have. Now these are the Tombow brush pens again, but they are in the darker shade, so it's kind of like a mustard shade. So I'm just going to see what color I get when I touch my colorless blender, because I want to get some lighter yellows as well. And yeah, I really like that color, so I'm going to go ahead and do some coloring while blending on the cake. So on the cake I just used my yellow, which is the color 026, and just blended it out a little bit with the colorless blender for the border. For the cake plate I'm going to go ahead and use my Tombow N35. And there's that dark cake base. I'm going to go ahead and do the hearts actually in my yellow gel pen because I want them to pop. I also did the little bird's flower in the yellow gel pen, and I'm going to do their beaks in the orange here. Now I found that the yellow gel pen was not as shiny as I'd like, so I'm going to go over it with something else. And it's the glossy accents that I'm going to use, but not until the end because it takes a long time to dry. So I'll do that detail once I have everything on my card. So the accent card or color on my card, I'm going to use a little bit of blue on these birds. I'm going to take my Distress ink and put a little bit on a block, and using my colorless blender, I'm going to pick up a little bit of that color. Just do a little bit of a test on here. You can see that nice pale blue that comes out. I'm going to go ahead and color those two little birds using that pale blue. Now after you're all done coloring with the Distress ink, I just take my colorless blender and I just run all the rest of that color out of it on a piece of scrap paper. And doing this does not ruin your blender at all. All of the color will come out on your little scrap paper, and then it's back to clear. So I just use a baby wipe to get rid of all of the extra ink on my blocks and to clean up all my stamps. So I'm going to start putting this card together, and I'm going to use a few different adhesives today. Glue tape for the base, some foam tape, the double-sided for the sentiment, and then some pop-up glue dots for the cake and the birds. So first I put glue tape all along the backing to put the colored paper onto my cardstock. So there's that first layer on, and then I'm going to go ahead and do the sentiment next. I'm going to use glue tape to put the congratulations on here, and then I'll use the dimensional adhesive to put on the back. So the front's on with that glue tape, and then I just put a strip of the dimensional adhesive on the back, and I'm going to take this off and then put this on the top of my card. And now I'm going to take up the pop-up glue dots and put them on the back of the cake and the little birds. Now out of the three adhesives, the glue dot pop-up ones are the least fun to work with just because they're so sticky, but again that's a positive because they will stay on. So I'm going to go ahead and put those on my card. Now I'm going to go back in with a black gel pen and just do the little eyes for the birds and fix any little edges on that card. And I don't like how this is sticking up, so I'm going to put a little piece of a foam adhesive underneath there. So you can see where I added a little bit more dimension. I put some of the foam tape underneath the cake and then also right behind those little birds. So now I'm going to add some of the finishing touches. I'm going to do some accents with these confetti flowers. These are from Michaels, and they are in Ivory Shimmer. I'm going to use my multi-medium matte and put some on the sides here of the little cake. So they're there up close. They've got a nice little shimmer to them. Now the multimedia mats are really strong adhesive, so you only need a really tiny amount on here to stick them on the card. And then if you do get a little bit of extra that kind of seeps out, it doesn't matter because it will dry matte. And these are going to add another little bit of dimension to the card because you can fluff up the leaves, or the petals, and create a bit more dimension on your card. Now this isn't the nozzle that comes on the multimedia mat from Ranger. I purchased that separately. So if you're interested in seeing where I purchased that nozzle, I will link that craft haul below. So the last thing for the front of my card today, I'm going to use some of my glossy accents and put them over top of the little hearts on the cake. So there's the glossy accents on the hearts, and I put it on the little bird's flower as well. So I just have to let that dry. And this is the final front of the card. So on a scrap paper, I tried a couple of the variations of the heart's placement for the sentiment I want to stamp on the inside, and I have it mounted up on my Fisker stamp press, and I'm going to use my Memento black ink and stamp the inside sentiment. So I've got everything lined up on the inside. I'm going to go ahead and press down with my stamp press, really pressing into the writing so I know it's perfect. And there we have the inside sentiment. And finally, I went ahead with my gel pens and I colored in the little hearts, keeping with the yellow of the card, but then adding a little pop of red. And I'm going to go ahead and write a personal message to my friend. So there we have the finished card. It has the congratulations with the little bluebirds and the cake in whites and yellows, with some accents, a little bit of sheen on there with the flowers that are nice and 3D. And then you tied the knot on the inside. So I hope you enjoyed this wedding card today, and have a great day.